Most people think they know California laws. It's one of the most talked about states in the country, constantly in the news, constantly changing, and constantly setting trends. But what almost nobody realizes is that beneath the big, obvious laws everyone debates, there's an entire layer of rules that quietly exist in the background. Some are old, some are local, some are rarely enforced, and some are enforced just often enough to catch people completely off guard. In 2026, many Californians and visitors are still accidentally breaking laws they don't even know exist. One of the most misunderstood areas starts with sleeping in your car. You've probably heard people confidently say that sleeping in your vehicle is completely legal in California. The truth is more complicated. At the state level, there is no blanket law that bans sleeping in your car. But cities and counties are allowed to regulate it themselves, and many of them do. In certain areas, sleeping in your car overnight can be illegal if it violates posted signage, time limits, or local ordinances related to public safety or sanitation. In some coastal cities, you can legally park during the day but get ticketed after certain nighttime hours. In others, the same activity is legal on one street and illegal one block over. That's why people wake up to citations convinced they did nothing wrong, even though technically they did. Another California law that surprises people involves jaywalking. For decades, California was notorious for aggressively enforcing jaywalking laws, especially in busy cities. In recent years, the rules have changed, but not in the way many people think. Jaywalking is no longer automatically illegal in all situations. However, it can still be enforced if a pedestrian creates an immediate danger to themselves or others. That means crossing an empty street mid-block might be fine, while stepping into traffic and forcing cars to brake could still result in a citation. The hidden part is that enforcement is now based on judgment, not location alone, which leads to confusion when two people do the same thing and only one gets stopped. California also has some very specific laws around loud music that go far beyond what most people assume. Many drivers think that as long as they aren't blasting music late at night, they're fine. But in California, some vehicle noise rules apply at any time of day. If your music can be heard clearly from a certain distance, especially in residential zones, it may violate local noise ordinances even in the afternoon. In some cities, the rule isn't about volume levels at all, but about whether the sound is plainly audible from outside the vehicle. That means two cars playing music at the same volume could be treated differently depending on the neighborhood they're driving through. Then there's the issue of idling your car. California has some of the strictest anti-idling laws in the country, and most drivers don't realize how strict they really are. In many situations, leaving your car running for more than a few minutes while parked is technically illegal, even if you're sitting inside the vehicle. The law was designed to reduce emissions, but it often catches people warming up their cars, waiting outside schools, or sitting in parking lots with the engine on. While enforcement varies, citations do happen, especially in areas near schools or residential zones. Another hidden law that surprises people involves bicycles. California treats bicycles as vehicles under the law, which means cyclists are required to follow most of the same rules as cars. That includes stopping at stop signs and red lights. What many people don't realize is that cyclists can be ticketed not just for traffic violations, but for things like riding without proper lighting at night. A missing front light or rear reflector can be enough for a citation. In some cities, even riding on certain sidewalks is illegal, depending on local rules, which leads to confusion when one city allows it and the next one over doesn't. California is also very particular about what you can and cannot do with animals, and some of these laws sound fake until you read them. For example, leaving a pet unattended in a vehicle under conditions that could endanger its health is illegal. That part is widely known. What's less known is that under certain circumstances, bystanders are legally allowed to take action to rescue the animal. This includes breaking a window if specific steps are followed, such as attempting to locate the owner and contacting authorities. Many people are shocked to learn that the law not only allows this, but outlines how it must be done to be legally protected. Another animal-related rule that catches people off guard involves feeding wildlife. In many parts of California, feeding wild animals is illegal, even if it seems harmless. This includes birds, squirrels, and other animals people often feed casually. The reasoning is that feeding wildlife can alter behavior and create safety issues. Violations can result in fines, especially in parks or protected areas, where enforcement is more common than people expect. California's beach laws are another source of surprise, especially for tourists. While California's coastline is famously public, that doesn't mean everything is allowed. Certain beaches restrict alcohol consumption entirely, regardless of age. Others limit fires, amplified sound, or even how close you can set up umbrellas to protected dunes. In some areas, collecting rocks, shells, or sand is illegal. Visitors often assume these rules are suggestions, but citations do happen, particularly in heavily protected coastal zones. Then there's the issue of public intoxication. Many people assume that simply being drunk in public is illegal everywhere in California. In reality, public intoxication laws focus on whether a person is unable to care for themselves or poses a danger. That means someone quietly sitting on a bench might be left alone, while someone behaving erratically could be detained. The law is intentionally broad, which gives officers discretion, but also creates confusion about where the line actually is. One of the most commonly broken hidden laws involves windshield obstructions. California law prohibits driving with items that significantly block your view, including certain decorations, signs, or objects hanging from the rearview mirror. While many people have air fresheners or small ornaments, larger items can technically violate the law. Enforcement varies, but this rule is often used as a secondary reason for a traffic stop, which surprises drivers who never realized the item was an issue. California is also strict about cell phone use while driving. Most people know you can't hold your phone, but fewer realize that even certain interactions can be illegal. Holding a phone for navigation, scrolling, or tapping multiple times can result in a citation. The law allows limited interaction, but it's narrower than many drivers assume, and enforcement has increased over time as distracted driving remains a major concern. Another law people don't think about involves crosswalks. In California, drivers are required to yield to pedestrians in marked and unmarked crosswalks. What's hidden is that many intersections legally count as crosswalks even without painted lines. That means pedestrians technically have the right of way in places drivers don't expect, leading to tickets and disputes when drivers claim there was no crosswalk. Dumpster diving is another gray area activity that people assume is either clearly legal or clearly illegal. In California, the legality often depends on where the dumpster is located. If it's on private property, taking items can be considered trespassing or theft. If it's on public property, different rules may apply. Cities also have sanitation ordinances that restrict scavenging, which means something that seems harmless can still result in a citation. When people think about California laws, they usually think of the big, well-known ones. But what actually surprises most people are the quieter rules, the ones you don't hear about until they affect you. These are the laws that live in local codes, vary by city, and often feel invisible until they're suddenly enforced. Things like recording conversations, using fireworks, washing your car, transporting large items, or even walking your dog can all trigger violations depending on where you are. California's all-party consent rules can make recording a private conversation illegal, even if you're part of it. Fireworks that are legal to buy in one city can be illegal to use in another just a few miles away. In some areas, washing your car on the street can result in a warning or fine due to water runoff rules, especially during droughts. Even everyday activities like hauling furniture without proper markings or walking your dog without a leash, or even without waste bags, can lead to citations. These laws usually exist for safety, environmental protection, or public order, but they don't always match what people assume is common sense. In 2026, California remains a state where local rules matter just as much as state laws. Two people can do the same thing in different cities and face completely different outcomes. That's why so many residents and visitors are caught off guard. If you live in California, you've probably broken at least one of these rules without realizing it. And if you're visiting, there's a good chance you'll be surprised. That's what makes California legally interesting. Not just what's famous, but what's overlooked and quietly still enforced.